Why do I always attract losers? Am I a loser magnet? This is a question that I get in my office all the time. My name's Catherine Newton, and I've been a mental health therapist for the past 31 years. One of the most common questions, or complaints rather, that I get from women in my practice is, why do I keep attracting losers? Where are all the good guys? So one of the things I tell them initially, and sometimes it's a shock to them, is that we all attract losers. Some of us just don't keep them. I actually had a sticker made because this is something that I run into so often. Show you my sticker. You're going to see it backwards, but it says we all attract losers. Some of us just don't keep them. If you want one of these stickers, just let me know. I'd be happy to send you one just for subscribing to this channel called Relational Healing. So today we're going to talk about, why some people seem to be able to have relationships that are healthy and fulfilling, and why some people just seem to go through this repetitive pattern of getting into relationships with people who are not able to meet their needs in one way or another. And some people might think it's unkind to call someone a loser. It's just a figure of speech so that you understand what I'm talking about. We joke around all the time and say loser, loser magnet. So I think it just helps us understand that someone who is unhealed, who is maybe caught up in an addiction of some sort, someone who maybe most of the time has their own trauma history that makes them incapable of really being in a healthy adult relationship. Those are the people we're talking about, and we're talking about the women and men who get involved with those people repetitively. So, number one, I'm going to give you a couple practical answers, and then I'm going to talk about the root causes of this pattern of tolerating abuse or tolerating unhealthy things in relationship. So number one is, we just don't pay attention to red flags. So we see the red flags, but some people see a red flag and they're very mindful and they're very aware and they're able to sidestep that relationship and recognize that's not healthy for me. Some people can see 1,000 red flags and they think it's a parade. And there's this thing that goes on that's almost magical. It's sort of like denial, where they see the red flags and they immediately make excuses and discount those red flags. And then they get attached so quickly that by the time all those red flags start to produce fruit and start to show themselves, those people are already so attached to the person that it's difficult for them to get out before it runs its course, which, as you know, is usually pretty negative. The relationship usually ends up not working out. So let's talk a little bit about the root issues. The root issues are that when you find yourself reenacting a certain type of relationship over and over, you have to ask yourself, what part of me am I allowing to run this relationship? And most of the time, what you're going to find out, you may not have the language for it, and you might not have the insight yet, but hopefully this video will open your eyes, is you're letting your wounded child part run the show in relationships. And, most people have had some sort of trauma in their life, most of the time in childhood. And so when you have unfinished business, unresolved trauma, unresolved abandonment or rejection or loss from your childhood, you're most likely going to have a child part that makes the decisions and that's running the show in your adult relationships. And when this happens, it's a major problem because little kids don't have very good discernment. They don't know how to evaluate someone's character. They just know, hey, that person seems to like me, and they glom on immediately. And if they have attachment wounds, they immediately attach. And it doesn't matter what that person does to them. It's going to be really difficult for that person to leave. Sometimes that's called trauma bonding. Sometimes we call that attachment to the perpetrator. But in any case, you need to get some individual trauma treatment to resolve that, and that's going to involve doing some trauma work. That's going to most likely involve doing some eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, we call it EMDR, and then some specific trauma-focused CBT, which is cognitive behavioral treatment. So if you are interested in doing this, make sure you find somebody who's had at least 10 years of experience, and more specifically, they've had experience working with trauma. Okay, don't let the word trauma throw you off, guys. Like I said, everybody has parts, everybody has some sort of trauma or loss in their life that they haven't resolved, and more or less. So that is the root issue of what's going on. And it may look like, like for instance, your first boyfriend might have been an attorney, this really attractive guy in a nice suit, and he was just really attractive and great. And then you get into a relationship with him and you find out that he's narcissistic and emotionally abusive and definitely unavailable. So then you break up with him and you get together with a guy who works in a factory, who sits at home all day long and does bongs and talks you into doing drugs with him. And then you break up with him because he's not going anywhere in life and he's an addict. And then you may get involved with somebody else who's maybe like a police officer, who's seems really mellow and seems like he's got his act together, only to find out that maybe he's a sex addict and he cheats on you all the time. And so really it's basically just changing seats on the Titanic. None of these relationships is going to be able to meet your needs. It's not going to last. And certainly it's just a reenactment of maybe what you grew up with, which was probably a parent who was unavailable or abusive in some way. So anyway, hope this helps. If you want a sticker, it's on the house. Go ahead and subscribe and like. If you like some of the things we're talking about in this channel, we're going to continue to talk about relational things and relational healing and why people struggle in relationships. So thanks a lot. God bless. Have a great day. We'll see you the next time.